So here's my argument. This border bill doesn't matter when you consider what the bigger plan really is. Even if the House kills it, okay, let's say they do, even if it gets a makeover, comes back, fails again, it doesn't matter. I'm not going to sit here and list the senators that are for and against or spend too much time on the McConnell, Schumer cabal and leadership. But here's a little tidbit of the back and forth.
The President of the United States opened the border. We documented 64 specific actions that Joe Biden and his agencies have taken to create this catastrophe. They did it intentionally. That's why his approval rating is in the tank. 60% of the people disapprove by your latest poll. The reason the presidency is imperiled, as your opening monologue stated, is because this is an abject failure of leadership. The American people are done with this. The border has to be secured, and the president has the authority right now. He doesn't need another act of Congress. He could do it right now, but he's unwilling to do it.
We're not playing the long game here. The Democrats are playing a long game as they have for over a decade. Remember, DACA was an Obama-era policy. Here's what one of the senators who actually participated in negotiating the bill had to say about it. Chris Murphy.
Well, here's the problem, David. The president can't do this by himself. The president doesn't have the legal authority without additional legislation to control the border and fix the broken asylum system in the way that needs to be done. And this is part of the fiction that gets perpetuated on the American public by Republicans. Now, they wanted to pass border legislation last year. In fact, it was so important to them in the House of Representatives that they named it H.R. 2. It was the second bill they introduced. But as soon as it became clear that bipartisan border reform legislation might pass, Republicans in the House started screaming, no, the president doesn't need any new laws. He has all the authority he needs. That's just not true. We know that because Donald Trump couldn't do a much better job of controlling the border. Presentations were at a 10-year high before COVID. And we also know that without legislative reform to the asylum system, without an infusion of resources to try to clear the backlog, it's still going to take 10 years to process an asylum claim.
And there it is. DACA's been with us for the better part of a decade. Those people are still here, and they're not going anywhere. There is a bigger plan in place. I started warning you about this 10 years ago on my first TV show with another network. Have you ever heard of something called affirmatively furthering fair housing? That was the Obama-Biden plan to end the construction of affordable, keyword not for the elites, affordable single-family homes in suburban localities and replace single-family home land use regulations to force communities to build economically diverse multifamily structures. Apartments. Trump warned about this back in 2020 after he ended that rule.
The Democrats in D.C. have been and want to, at a much higher level, abolish our beautiful and successful suburbs by placing far-left Washington bureaucrats in charge of local zoning decisions. They're absolutely determined to eliminate single-family zoning, destroy the value of houses in communities already built, just as they have in Minneapolis and other locations that you read about today. Your home will go down in value and crime rates will rapidly rise. Joe Biden and his bosses from the radical left want to significantly multiply what they're doing now. And what will be the end result is you will totally destroy the beautiful suburbs. Suburbia.
Okay, what does this have to do with the border bill, you're asking? Everything. 10 million people have crossed the border illegally since Joe Biden became president. Right now, millions of people are being warehoused in government buildings, schools, police stations, airports, rec centers, tent cities, and hotels. Everybody knows this is unsustainable. Everybody knows it. But there is no plan to repatriate these people. Again, Obama's DACA recipients are still here. There's no temporary or deferred anything. These people are here for the foreseeable future. You heard what Senator Murphy said. 10 years to file the claim. The cities are overrun. So where are all these illegals going to go? You guessed it. The suburbs. And in maybe 1 to 2 election cycles after they get full amnesty, that will be the end of the red states and the red areas of the blue states. For decades, the left fought what they called urban sprawl. They claimed longer commutes were contributing to climate change, and the more people bought cars, the more it robbed from government transportation. Actually, that was the other half of the equation. As people moved away from the cities, the claim was made that the cities were losing resources. They had to fight to bring them back. Well, Obama had a better idea. Instead of trying to keep people in the cities, why not bring the cities to the suburbs? Here we go from the Ethics and Public Policy Center. It's an organization that analyzes public policy through the lens of both Judaism and Christianity. Quote, Biden's infrastructure bill aims to end single-family zoning. How exactly does Biden plan to end single-family zoning? According to the fact sheet released by the White House, Biden is calling on Congress to enact innovative new competitive grant programs that award flexible and attractive funding to jurisdictions to take concrete steps to eliminate. In other words, Biden wants to use the big pot of federal grant money as bait. If a county or municipality agrees to weaken or eliminate its single-family zoning, it gets the federal bucks. The wildly overreaching Obama-Biden era affirmatively furthering fair housing regulation, which Biden has pledged to revive, works in similar fashion. The difference is that by adding another gigantic pot of federal money to the community development block grants that are the lure of AFFH, Biden makes it much harder for suburbs to resist applying, and that much more punishing the jurisdictions that forego a share of the federal taxes they've already paid so as to protect their right to self-rule. And that's the problem. Local and state politicians love to spend federal money. It plugs them into the network of who's who in D.C. Take a look at this graphic. Take a look at this graphic. What do you see here? You see a tower. It's overshadowing the community. Actually, that's proposed in Oklahoma City. Overshadowing the community in more than one way. If the government uses a relatively small amount of land and builds up where we have built out, you'll have more people, more voters stacked high. And that's how it'll be done. They will select areas of the country, districts that need to be flipped, states that need to be flipped, and you will start to see money flowing in. In some places, they might just use federal land. It'll start with grants from HUD, schools built by the Department of Education, government-run transportation run by the DOT, and so forth and so forth. These people aren't going anywhere because the Democrats see it as the future with one-party rule. This bill doesn't mean anything. You've got to look at the bigger picture of affirmatively furthering fair housing. And that's my argument.